up on me.
I'm gonna bring mine down. That's the way it goes.
This is the way you wanna go? How about this?
Oh, okay.
Oh, it's bigger.
That's it. Next work session. I won't be out then.
Mine's embarrassing.
No iPad, no iPhone, no.
I don't even have an iPhone.
Ay. You don't?
No.
I'll get this up. Okay, well, it is 7, so we are going to begin signing in this evening. We have David Booth. Dave, why don't you come right up and join us, please? Who's on the agenda. Mr. Broll indicated he was going to join us this evening. I don't see him, but we aren't waiting for him either. So. Art and I met with Dave, and he shared a project that he's interested in getting our attention with, and I'm going to say really no more and let him go forward on LED streetlights.
There you go. Thank you, Bernie. And thanks very much for
Send that to Jim.
the opportunity. Yeah, this is slightly different than what
Little
you've
bit,
seen.
okay.
And in fact, there's one for Art as well.
Good, thank you.
So, yeah, my name's David Booth, I'm with Johnson Controls. And we work with municipalities to help address deferred maintenance, improve energy efficiency, improve your infrastructure. And I heard recently about your purchase of approximately 1,500 streetlights, and it caught my interest. We've worked with some municipalities in converting streetlights to LED technology, and it does save quite a bit of money. We also look at a number of other energy-saving opportunities, and have kind of a unique approach that doesn't consume your capital or impact the tax base. So I wanted to kind of go through the process with you and share with you some of our thoughts and see if it's anything that piques your interest. So this approach is called energy performance contracting. And basically, that's a procurement mechanism. It lets you make upgrades to the facilities that you own, leveraging energy or operational savings to fund those improvements. And those savings are guaranteed by Johnson Controls. So that approach actually came into play about 39 years ago through New York State Energy Law Article 9. And what that law does is it waives Section 103, which is the WICS law. If you were to take on a project like this in a traditional capital fashion, you would write your bid, put it out, get bids back, and select the lowest, best bidder. With this approach, you have the luxury of basing your selection on quality and value. So it's procured through a request for proposals, typically, or a request for qualifications, depending on what your procurement laws are. As I mentioned, the law allows for projects to be funded by guaranteed project benefits. And it also has some additional funding opportunities. Lease purchase is the most common approach. And that basically uses tax-exempt municipal interest rates to fund the project. Some accounting experts would look at that and say that it may not impact your debt limits or your borrowing capacity. That would be for your accountants to determine. Others say that it will. So, it's a way to get the work done without a capital investment. So, on page 2, this is just kind of a graphic illustration of how the self-funded solution works. The orange bar you see on the left represents your, we'll call it your utility budget, but it could be operational expenses too. During the project, you can see the improvements actually reduce what you're paying to the utility company. The blue represents the debt service, and the green is savings. So any savings in excess of the debt service certainly would belong to the town. Once the debt service is complete, all of the savings would belong to the town.
Your illustration would lead me to believe that the savings, at least in general, would be more than half of the total cost by switching to LED?
That varies from project to project. We have some projects that are not entirely self-funded, so a municipality may contribute capital. Other projects that create a positive revenue source for the municipality. So it depends on the opportunities. And that's really why we're here tonight, is to kind of take the next step, if you would like, and give you a high-level view of what the numbers might actually pan out to be. I'll talk about how we do that in a moment. Going on to the next page, something unique about performance contracting. It's a single source of responsibility. That being Johnson Controls or whoever you might select. Single procurement as well. So it saves a lot of time and resources in terms of letting the bids and evaluating them, making selections. As I mentioned, we do guarantee the energy savings as well as the performance of the project. And again, you're able to make a selection based on quality and value rather than lowest first cost. So we're looking at a life cycle cost. This approach uses what we call bundling. And to maximize your energy savings, we evaluate all of your facilities to determine what opportunities might exist. You've done a lot already, so I do applaud your efforts there. We do understand that there are some opportunities within this building, possibly related to heating. Certainly the LED streetlights, converting from high pressure sodium to LED can save up to 75%. We also look at water and wastewater systems. I did meet with Scott Stoddard as well, and I know that he's in the, I'll say, early phases of the meter replacement program. We do a lot of that work as well. When you bundle all of those measures together, you get a lot of work done in a short period of time, which you can see in this graph. This illustration is a $15 million project. I can assure you, you don't have $15 million worth of work. But if you were to bundle all of that and start realizing savings from day one, because of the time value of money, there's a lot more benefit to be had for the town. So on page 6, 4 key areas that municipalities like about performance contracting. The benefits we talked about, you get an opportunity to catch up on deferred maintenance, improve your infrastructure, show your taxpayers that you're being sustainable and a good steward of your finances and the environment. More importantly, there's budget relief by taking this approach. You don't have to have capital to invest in your infrastructure. You're basically leveraging the future savings to get the work done. That's a budget neutral approach. And because you don't need to go out and bond to get this work done, there's no impact to the taxpayers. That being said, municipalities do sometimes bond these projects, but again, it's still budget neutral. based on my conversations too, I think there's some value also in that this approach preserves your capital budget for other needs. I know you have a rather large water tank rehabilitation project that you're looking at. This could be an opportunity to help offset some of those costs, allocate your capital budget that you have towards that project, certainly the cost of the streetlights. If we were to come up with excess savings, it would be applied towards some of those other projects. It minimizes the risk of the town as well. We do guarantee the savings. It's written right into the contract. We perform measurement and verification services after the project's complete to ensure that you're realizing the savings. If you're not, we cut you a check for the shortfall. Single source of responsibility. So while we might be tackling several different areas of opportunity, Johnson Controls is responsible for all of it. So there's not going to be subcontractors pointing at each other and saying that's their issue, or that's not my problem. It's our issue if there is one. Also, there's no change orders. So if we develop a project and we overlooked something, then we own that problem. And finally, it's an easy approach in terms of implementation. Single procurement. It is turnkey. We're responsible for every component of it. We do work hand in hand with you. It's very collaborative. You're able to get a lot of work done in a short period of time. And because of that, you start seeing savings sooner. So we look at anything energy related, water, wastewater included. I did include some information on the water meters on page 8. Meters degrade in accuracy over time. And as that meter degrades, it's not registering all of the water that goes through it. And because you sell water, you're not capturing all the revenue for what you're delivering. Typically, there are operational savings as well. You right now pay somebody to go out and read these meters. And I know that there's the basis for an automated meter reading system in place. If you were to take this approach, we could complete that installation and eliminate a lot of man hours, most likely, with meter reading.
You said read the meters? Replace them.
We would evaluate meters. We would pull a sampling of small meters and actually test those. Large meters, we would do a survey of and determine what ones we could test in place and what the potential benefit would be. And then with meter reading, we would finish the implementation of your automated meter reading system, which is like a radio read. So instead of your meter reader going to every individual house, they can just go around in a vehicle once per billing cycle.
You don't even have to get out of the vehicle, right?
Right. There are handheld units as well, though, that should they need to get out for some reason, they can do that. And then we integrate that with your billing system. In terms of LED street lighting, I'm guessing this is probably already, I'm gonna say, at the forefront of your minds. There are some great savings to be had there, as well as safety enhancements too. You get a better quality of light typically with LED. The maintenance for LED streetlights compared to high pressure sodium is much less as well. The lights last a bit longer.
Can you address the relative, can you address the type of bulb that's used? I know you're talking an LED, but the technology that I'm reading talks about the modern bulb of today casts the light down, doesn't cast the light up.
Right, typically LED lights are what we call dark sky friendly, in that the light is more directional.
Mm-hmm.
So there's less what people sometimes refer to as light pollution, or light being wasted going up towards the sky. Where I live in Albany, sometimes you see stars, sometimes you don't. I know on my drive home tonight, I'll see a ton of them, and it's because there isn't a lot of excess light going up into the sky. So in that sense, you're only paying for the light that's effective. Art had a concern also about power surges, and you can get equipment built into the LED lights that mitigate that as well. Part of what we would do in this approach would be, should we be selected, we will actually have our lighting company come and do mock-ups of various lights, so you can see what the lights would look like. Make sure that they're the right light for the right application, and that it meets your needs. If there's a little bit of decorative street lighting possibly too.
Mm-hmm.
So it wouldn't be a one-size-fits-all approach.
Any of these use solar?
That was my question too.
These would not be. Typically, solar has a pretty long payback in general, solar PV. But we could explore that option if that was something that you had interest in, and show you what the numbers look like.
Have you done any of those projects at all?
I'm not aware of us having done any solar-powered street lighting. Solar in general.
Get a big discount then being your guinea pig and, you know, you try it out?
Well, I can certainly ask, sure. Solar in general is seeing paybacks 25 to 35-year period. That's typically longer than a term that most customers would have interest in making an investment in. And part of that has to do with the municipality not being a taxpaying entity, so you don't get the federal tax benefit from doing a solar project. There are a lot of companies offering power purchase agreements, and that's, I'm sure you've probably entertained many of them right here. That's basically where they're providing the whole PV system at no cost to the municipality. And you get the benefit of a flat electric rate going forward, perhaps a reduced rate compared to what you are paying. We do have a solar group. We do not sell these power purchase agreements, though, but we can help you evaluate those should we wind up
So you
working.
said the payback period was a lot longer for that, but you're saying that we finance all this based on savings.
Right.
You
So
have enough
we could
savings on
evaluate
this
that.
that you actually pay for all the equipment and all the,
That's the goal.
and we don't even have to pay anything, we get a refund back. If the.
That's the goal, yeah. Now, a lot of it depends on what type of improvements are needed. If you needed chillers, let's say, or a lot of heavy-duty HVAC equipment that came at a very high price and had very low savings, but you needed that equipment replaced, then the savings may not offset the cost of it. So that's part of why we like to do a preliminary analysis to identify what the opportunities are. Do an estimate for a cost and an estimate for the savings.
How long have you been doing this? I don't mean you personally, but how long has Johnson doing this?
Johnson Controls has been doing performance contracting in New York since the legislation passed about 39 years ago. We are the largest performance contractor in North America.
I'm just saying, it would almost seem, why would you not do this? But obviously, I guess, you don't have 100% of the, I don't mean Johnson for 100% of the market. So like, City of Saratoga Springs, all their street lighting, this, LED?
They did not, they don't own their streetlights, so that wasn't a component of that project. What you see there are municipalities that have done performance contracting projects around energy and/or water wastewater.
Did any of them do streetlights?
Not that you see on that list. That's something that's coming up, I would say. It's becoming more and more popular now, particularly since LED prices have come down. The payback is getting better on it. The utility companies are moving into an area now where they're open to the idea of not owning all the streetlights. And that's not everywhere.
How many municipalities would you say you have done streetlights with?
I can think of 9 or 10, and there are probably more that I'm not aware of.
Are they in higher density areas such as Albany, et cetera, or?
Well, I recently completed a project in the Hudson Valley that had 50, so that was a small component of a larger project. Others tend to be
Just 50 streetlights?
Yep.
And we have 15,000?
1,500. We're working on a project right now. I think you shared the Binghamton article. We were just selected by the city of Binghamton to look at their streetlights and lighting throughout some of their facilities. That's 7,700. So, did I answer that for you? On page 10, you can kind of see what the process looks like. We start out with a complimentary, no cost, no obligation feasibility analysis. And that's to help all of us here determine if there is an opportunity and if this makes sense for everybody and if you're comfortable with the approach. So we would look at your utility bills, do some analysis, some energy benchmarking on how much energy is being consumed by your facilities and the streetlights. Do an AWWA water audit to see if there's actually some assistance we can offer with the water metering project as well. Crunch some numbers, walk through, look at your equipment, and come back and I'll have a business case analysis for you. That'll basically identify from a high level what the opportunities are, and approximate project costs, and approximate savings. Is it self-funded, or does it need a longer term to be self-funded? What kind of term are you comfortable with? And we have those discussions. At that point, if you wish to move forward, typically that's when you would issue a request for proposals or a request for qualifications. And our company and others would respond to that. Then you evaluate them. That's probably the hardest part for you. You select who you would like to work with. Some of it's gonna be based on numbers, should you request that in the proposal. But you have a lot of leeway deciding who you're comfortable working with, who has the best experience and qualifications to get the work done. Once you've made a selection, we would do a detailed study, and that's where we really build the project. We have a series of workshops that we'll hold with you to make sure that we're on the right track and that we're building the project that you want. We're giving you the improvements that you want to see.
So we have a contract then, by the time we have the detailed study.
The contract would follow that detailed study.
Well, it says cost is rolled into the contract, so assume that we have a contract at that point.
We use a project development agreement. We wouldn't know a cost for
And
that.
so, basically, the difference between your free preliminary study and what the cost is, and the detail study could be considerably different, and yet we already have a contract.
Well, you wouldn't have a contract yet. You wouldn't be obligated to implement anything. This would be, call it an investment grade audit. And that it would be where we refine what measures you want to implement, what ones make sense, get firm costing on all of the components, do all of the engineering calculations, and basically build the project. There is typically a fee associated with that. That does get rolled into the cost of the project, so you're not needing to pay for that at that time. If that study did not meet parameters that we agreed upon up front, or if it's something drastically different than our prelim, then you wouldn't have the obligation to pay for that, should you not implement the project.
We don't have to pay for the detail study?
If it didn't meet the guidelines that we established up
It
front.
doesn't-
If you said to me, we're only gonna do this if it has a 15-year term, for example, meaning that the energy savings over 15 years, you need to pay for the project.
What is the average term? Yeah.
15 is pretty common. We do see some 12, 10. I've seen some go to 20. So a lot of it depends on what are the needs, what's in the project, how important is it to get that done.
So the work gets done over that period of time, or at the rate of time?
So that's basically a development period. We'd come back again at the end of that, show you a fully baked project. And that's when we would actually go into a contract. Then once the contract is signed, financing would get arranged. We have the ability to finance projects, but we're not a bank, so there are many other places to look for financing. And we can assist with that, help facilitate all of that.
Let me just ask, on payback, you're saying could be 10 years or 15 years or 20 years. And that would be the amount of money we invest in savings, how long it would take the savings to reduce that investment to zero?
Correct.
And you said that the longevity of the lights is 20 years?
That's probably going to vary by manufacturer, but 20 years is probably a good average.
So we may or may not receive any savings, actually.
Well, you should see savings.
Savings would be in the energy. I mean, whatever system plan you have in place, when the bulbs burn, you have to replace them. It wouldn't really reflect the cost of the energy to light them.
Right, the lifespan would impact more so the operational savings.
Looking at the implement project section of this chart, just looking to get a sense for your project, it was about 50 lights as compared to us. What was the implementation schedule?
To do the 50 lights, how long did it take? So not factoring in the development part, because that was a separate phase. I believe they did those 50 lights, I'm going to say, in 2 or 3 days. There were also some parking lots outside of those 50 street lights. So it's a pretty quick process.
Once you got the disconnects like we have, it's putting new bulbing.
So we can also work with you to bring in vendors to show you the different technologies. Help you make a more informed decision on both the water meters as well as streetlights.
Do you do these as separate projects and separate contracts, or one contract?
Typically, it's one contract.
So
but
you're talking about water meters and lights and everything else?
those are the opportunities that I'm aware of. If it doesn't make sense to the town to pursue one of them. We're happy to look at whatever you're comfortable with.
Installing the meters is a totally different game than the lights.
Right.
Dealing with a lot of issues there, with homeowners and getting in and
Right.
a lot of different issues.
So they're both turnkey approaches. In terms of the meters, we typically will do testing unless the municipality says, you know what, we're gonna replace them all anyway, so don't waste your time or money testing meters. We will survey the meters, let you know what kind of condition they're in. We will do all of the scheduling to get into the homes. We have a great marketing department as well that can help to share with your taxpayers how you're taking a financially prudent approach here and not getting all this work done without raising their taxes.
But we're gonna raise their water bills because we're gonna capture the
Well-
real use.
People are paying for what they're using, exactly.
And that isn't necessarily an option that they would choose.
That could well be.
So not all meters run slow. Some meters should.
Some can go fast.
Some can go fast.
Yeah, you might catch one once in a while, but the rule of thumb, I
It's
think, is,
more
as you
often that
said,
they will degrade.
old meters, yeah, slow down.
Uh,
But that is the direction we're going. We need to go for all the reasons previously mentioned. We had talked about this a little bit. This would speed the process.
Precisely.
You know, there's that. If we could wiggle our nose and everybody had a brand new ready to read meter, it'd be perfect, but
Sounds like it's fantasy.
Yeah.
it isn't. That, I'm here to say it isn't. Streetlights is a little different story, a radically different story. Water meters is not that easy, not that fast. And you would have more challenge getting sufficient numbers of subcontractors to go in and do this in a rapid manner, more so than the lights. The lights are a little easier.
May I ask, when you say you're going to do this preliminary study and stuff, in only the areas that we say, or you look at all these areas that are possible?
Our opinion is that the most successful project is the one that saves you the most money.
Yeah, we're not gonna just open the door.
So-
They would look over what we chose to give them.
Right.
It's a lot of work to prepare, like you say, you know, all the bills for all the meters, somebody's gotta go do that. It takes time is money.
Right, so we would work with, I think, do you use Harris for your
Yeah.
water billing? So we would work with Harris and get a data extract, and that will give us the information that we need. And actually, from a high level, that data extract will be during a detailed energy audit anyway, yeah. So we'll just get high level numbers for the preliminary analysis. We'll look at how much water your system is producing, how much you're billing, what's the difference, how much of that is estimated to be due to meter inaccuracies or effective service. But there's also hydrant flushes and legitimate uses of water that isn't billed. So we can give you a pretty good sense as to the efficiency of the water system as well.
On the street lighting, are there economies of scale in that you mentioned one was 50 lights and this is going to be 1,500?
Typically, the more lights in the system, certainly the more efficient the replacement would be, yeah. 1,500 would make sense from our perspective, certainly. I think the project with 50 in it, it made sense to that community. I think more from a sustainability aspect or a going green aspect, LED is seen as latest technology. Many tie it in with the renewable energy sources, even though it's not really an energy source.
I'd be interested in a couple of things. One, I'd be interested in seeing more of the numbers. Two is I would be interested in some individuals out and about town that are in some rather darker spots, that do have that night sky visibility concern, that I've heard, time and time again. The other part to it is, I would really like to see, connections to solar. I think our town has a lot of opportunity there, moving forward in that, direction. We certainly haven't committed to anything, but if we're gonna onboard any future services, I would like to see how things interconnect. I hate the idea of bringing new things on and creating these silos that prevent us from, you know, connecting them and making the most out of what we have. So those are some of the things that I'd like to say.
Sure. So we have included solar in some projects that we've done. Again, the payback is longer. Typically, they're shorter payback items to offset that. You've done a lot of your lighting in your facilities. That's typically the shortest payback. In terms of solar, we can certainly analyze that and include it in proposals. We can also act as a consultant should you opt to explore a power purchase agreement. We can have some expertise look over the proposals. I'll guide you through that process if you wish.
Do you ever do these projects incrementally?
At times, if there's,
In other words, coming in and, like, you know, there's a part of me that has a problem with undertaking 1,500 streetlights all at one time. You know, the amount of time it takes and the dedication, there are resources to doing that. You know, if we instead were to enter into a program where we were to be looking at 500 streetlights, okay? And, you know, similarly, if we were looking at a certain number of water meters, and that was to be a project. And then, you know, we tackle that project, our workforce gets that project, you know, completed, et cetera. We go to phase two is another 500.
Our workforce doesn't do this, right? This is
Yeah,
all,
That's what I asked.
we don't do any of this.
let me clarify that. That's sort of the approach that you're on right now with the water meters, in that there's a few hundred being changed out each year by your workforce. With this approach, this includes labor, all of the materials. So it's truly a turnkey project, so that your folks are freed up to do other work. And you get all of this work done in a very short fashion of time, which also allows you to then see the energy savings sooner. Did I clarify that?
Yeah, you clarified it. The other side of that is that, as I understand it, we're not doing this based on the lowest cost. We're doing it based on, other measurements as to who's going to be the selected, you know, contractors.
Cost can be one of your criteria, absolutely. In an ideal purchasing environment, though, you're also looking at, what are you buying? What are you getting for the money? I remember the days when there was a car called, was it Yugo? And it was a little tiny box of a car, no longer made, and certainly didn't have the same value, I would say, as
I think
Mercedes.
that's dealt with the specifications that you put into the put into the RFP,
Right,
okay? We're not looking to buy you those either,
right.
okay? But at the same time, I don't wanna hand somebody the pen and, you know, when you're all done, okay, there is a cost that we're gonna absorb. Okay, and, you know, I think it's incumbent upon us to be sure that we haven't absorbed more of a cost than we should have.
Absolutely.
One of those costs that Art brought up was the cost of replacement of these units, which are more expensive than the units we currently use. And how do we calculate, you know, the savings with the LEDs that will last longer? But when I get to that point, it's like that bridge now, you know, 50 years later, we gotta replace the bridge, and it's gonna be costly. But those are all, you know, numbers to look at, obviously. I think a lot of us have done that probably in our homes, when we put more energy efficient lights in versus incandescent light bulbs. It costs a little more, but my savings over the long term, before I have to replace the more expensive bulb, more than makes up for that replacement later. And those are some of the nebulous numbers that are out there. But again, this is something we had talked about. I made a note to myself. Art indicated to me a number of months or a year ago or so that he had some LED lights that were given to him to try, and we had talked about taking a model street and doing the entire street. We talked about one of the ones off Tom Miller Road, so we could really see what does that look like in practice, and get a little feedback from the community.
I'll volunteer my street.
That's a road now.
Who agreed to give the?
I don't remember which company. This is at
What
least
company
a year ago.
manufactures the bulbs that you're gonna use?
We do take a vendor neutral approach, so we do not manufacture LED bulbs, but GE makes them, Philips makes them, more common names.
Sylvania, Oshkosh.
Bernie, when you guys purchased the streetlights last year, was it the year before?
We've had a full year of it in, so.
Was this on your radar at all?
No. I mean, it's something you talk about, just like we, you know, talk about, it'd be nice if they were all solar, but there was no way we could afford to put those bulbs in while we were there doing the conversions with the
Disconnects.
They're just, that money wasn't available. And, you know, and there are some things, we've talked about solar a lot, and some things have changed. There's something else out I'm chasing with microgrids right now. Opportunity's a little better than it was even a year or two ago. It would be nice to be all solar if we could afford to, if somebody'd give us the panels. That's just a lot of the issue. And unfortunately, we can't take advantage of some of these tax credits. So we got, you know, the lease option. So you keep looking at it until the cost becomes effective. One of the things somewhat attractive with this, to me, I'm not sure where I want to go yet, but to identify, do a quantitative analysis, if you will, and determine what are the savings? What is the cost? What is the future cost? Where's the break even point? And to a, you know, to the first step or two, there's no real cost for us to do those things. And you still have an option of deciding. There seem to be more and more programs like this. This is the same conversation to some extent we had with homeowners about natural gas. You know, you're going to have a cost to convert maybe, depending on the home. That cost may vary, in which you already have, but your savings will be able to pay for that cost of conversion, especially if you can roll it into a couple of years, and NYSEG's willing to work with some homeowners on that. And then at the point you've covered your cost, which won't raise your overall outflow at all, then that drops off and you've got the 100% savings now. This is very, very similar to that.
That's a good analogy.
You know, so whatever we're paying, we're gonna pay, and at the end of the day, we'll end up with something that's less expensive. you know, what is that differential? We don't know until we count it.
Right.
Who's your like, talking about customers or consumers, who's some of your longer customers? I mean, if you're talking about multi-years and, you know, talking about savings and, you know, I'd like to know, like,
Tompkins County?
Tompkins County has done a few projects with us. The city of Ithaca, I believe, is going into, I wanna say a phase 3. Dutchess Community College has done 4 phases. We call them phases, 4 projects. Buffalo Public Schools has done 6. So those are some from the top of my head.
thank you.
Sure.
When you analyze savings, I know nothing's perfect, is it, how accurate is the information? If you said this project, the payback will be 12 years,
I think we would probably have this is my guess, and I'm not the engineer coming up with the
Right.
calculations. They might have a different answer.
Sure.
I think we're probably, what is it, plus or minus 20%?
Dave, do you have anything else? Does anyone have any other questions? I'm gonna move our agenda a little bit. We have another
Yep,
couple of items.
I'm good. We will tap into any available incentives and grants as well on your behalf to help offset the project costs,
So you'll do the research and the grant?
if you'd like us to, sure. If this is something that you want to explore, and again, we don't want to lead you down the wrong path. This doesn't help any of us. So that's why we do a preliminary analysis. If that is something that you'd like to explore further, again, that's no cost, no obligation. We use a memorandum of understanding. I did bring copies so you can pass these around if you wish, or share with your
Yeah.
attorney.
Good.
And
Thank you.
again, high-level view of what a project could look like, and if there's not a project here, then I'll have enjoyed this drive today.
You can see the stars anyway.
That's all right, that's all right.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, I appreciate the
Where
opportunity.
did you say your headquarters was, or where are you from?
I work in Albany, and we're headquartered in Milwaukee. Company itself has been around for 130 years. We actually invented the first thermostat.
Johnson Controls, that's right.
That's right.
I forgot about that. Johnson's there. Isn't there a local Johnson, or there used to be?
There's two repair mechanics that live in this town that work for them. They take care of I know the county office building is serviced by Johnson Controls.
Yeah, they're pretty state-of-the-art as far as.
The
controls.
hospital, the county building, there's, I think they have something at the college too.
Yeah, Johnson's got a good, good name.
Well named.
Thank you. I'd like to take credit for that, but, if there are any questions, my contact info is on the front page, and I would certainly, be happy to assist however I can.
Okay,
Thank
no
you.
further
Alright.
discuss.
Sounds
Thank
great.
you for coming up.
Thank you, guys.
Travel safe.
Next day.
Thank you. Have a good evening.
I want to
Thank
jump right down to number 4. We've got CJ here and Jim Abdella. Come right up, guys. I've shared nothing. I believe everyone received in their packet some background.
First, just let me say, I filed a conflict of interest both for zoning and planning board, and those are the boards I usually represent, but on occasion I represented you. And I believe I have a written one. If not, I'll make sure it's filed. I usually file them every year as I work for Studer.
Thank you. Jim, maybe you can tell us, and for me, the easy, fast way to get into this and shift gears is to go to the map and have you explain, what do you want to do?
Sure. At this
What
point,
does Schluter want to do, I should say, if you're working on your behalf?
sure. At this point, Schluter is looking, this petition is for zoning map amendment. There's 3 parcels of property, parcel 10.1, 11.1, and 11.2, which are on the west side of the Pleasant Ridge Road, currently owned by Schluter, that are zoned mobile home.
This is where they took those houses down?
Yes,
believe-
107, which is on the west side, we took down, but we also took down the ones we just bought on the
Right,
east
that's-
side too.
yeah, that's what I was talking
The simplest thing to recollect is that when the zoning map was drawn, everything on the west side was manufactured home, stayed that way. Everything on the east was industrial, in fact, goes all the way down. We're looking at it differently, we've been acquiring it.
Jim, in Exhibit 2, I can only identify 2 parcels that you're requesting a change. What one am I missing?
Let's
See,
see.
these two,
10.1, but I don't see where that is.
If you look at,
got that, I've got this one and this one. What's the
yep,
third?
and the third one is here, that finishes off the.
Where is it?
11.1,
Oh.
11.2.
See, we
There,
bought
all
these,
right,
these are the
there.
two,
Yeah.
I
one,
found
two,
those.
three.
Where's it?
Yep, yep.
What's this?
I was
This
gonna
is
have to hash it.
10.1, see
Oh,
how this is
all-
merged?
All this is 10.1.
All,
1.2,
boom, all that,
Including this.
which is this,
yes.
if you look.
about. Yeah, all, okay, all.
Yep,
All right, so both sides of the road, it's 10.1.
Yes.
correct,
Okay, that's why I got mixed up.
correct. As part of that, map amendment request, we've outlined a general schedule or outline based on the zoning ordinance. In this case, right on the title page, we requested that the board consider this at the April 20th board meeting. Generally, the first step is a referral to the town planning board, which we've already met with the planning department to start discussing the process, the steps necessary, the involved parties. Once again, that first step is a referral from you folks to the planning board for their.
And we do have a draft resolution we'll look at later for that purpose.
From there, once they've received that referral from you, they will have their review process that they will go through for consideration of this amendment. I believe there's a 45-day window where they review things. The board takes all the items into consideration, question, and then they will come to their recommendation to you. They'll come back to you. There's a process for public hearing. You take consideration of their requests. There'll be a referral to the county planning board by the town board, for county planning board recommendation. And then it'll come back to you again for a final decision by the town board.
What does Schluter propose to do with the property they're requesting to have rezoned?
At this point, I guess it's a further support of their operations, their campus that they have over there. There are future plans for expansion of the manufacturing facilities, their storage facilities. They have sometime a future training center. You have another company, SSF, an associated company with them that supports their product. They're just finishing up expansion of their manufacturing and storage facilities now. They may have future expansion needs for storage facilities.
Has everybody here been to the Schluter campus, had a tour of it and whatnot?
I have
Or not?
Not full tour, but.
No, I've
I
never had
think
a
that
tour
would be
of it.
extremely
I mean, I've been to
valuable.
buy it, but.
You're welcome to come and we can
Nobody's
get
ever
you a
seen it.
tour anytime.
That would be
I can
valuable.
just tell you that on the projects on my list right now, I won't be around to see all of them, that's how many we got.
I believe you.
They've been more than 2 years.
So,
We've got automatic storage,
Horse head in the
we've
back.
got expansion of our warehouse that we've seen almost going all the way back to the highway. We got another office building, I'm in building number 2, there's a building number 3 planned.
I
There's
guess,
a German company that we've been touting, but that will be, has to be next to SSF. That's also where our drainage is, so if we did do that, we'll have to buy some more land, which I'm chasing people at, to put that business, because we want them kind of away from us, but everything else I told you we want near us.
11-1, 11-2, some of the other sections, that area between Pleasant Ridge Road and the railroad track seems to me a little like a no-brainer. But I have a concern with that triangular piece, because I'm led to believe the property to the west is a trailer park. And it would, why I ask, what is the proposal? That little triangular area, given the railroad track and Pleasant Ridge Road, seems like it's confusing what that might be used for. But once this is, if it were to be rezoned, what is it, industrial or manufacturing?
Industrial.
Industrial, that would enable an industrial project to take root there, which could present some problems to their poor neighbors trying to sleep.
I'd like to respond to that. First of all, the corner way up is industrial, the little triangle around the west side, that's the only one. In order to develop that triangle that you're talking about, it's on the west side of the railroad tracks, the railroad tracks have to disappear.
I could see that
And
happening.
we're looking at, if that disappears,
Talk about
hopefully talk about relocating the road. We've also had no problems with, limiting any use there, using it as a buffer. But if we use it as MH, as it is right now, I can't count it as my open space. We need open space.
Well,
That's the reason. I don't mind if you put a restriction on it. We've talked to the planning board about buffering, but I want to be very candid as to why we're doing it, is because when we were looking at the last project on UMS, I had to come in for a variance, and they were giving me, basically that mobile home on the other side. And they don't want you, even though I'm taxed on it, I can't count it on open space. And we've never argued that thing, because we've been talking about changing this land for about 2 or 3 years.
I mean, counting it as open space would truly create a buffer, and
The
that
open
would make
space
me
re-
more comfortable.
The open space requirements for MH and industrial are different, so you got a problem there.
But we might be able to put some stipulations for that particular parcel. I mean, truly, as you said, the way they're going, that campus is amazing, and keep going, don't slow down.
If that particular triangle
you-
was sold, though, anybody could do anything on it if we have an industrial.
The only way you can get access to it, you would never get access, for me, is a landlocked parcel unless I sell it to the mobile home people. You can't cross tracks. When you look at this tracks, when you ever went through them, they're like about 6 to 7 feet deep from the ground level on our side. You come over on the road, you go back 15 feet across from the entrance to the warehouse, to the main building, our new office, and it drops. The tracks are there, the trees are there and everything. But for us to even consider relocating the road or doing something like that, you're talking about a lot of freaking fill, but with the rest of the stuff that works, it's gonna be, it is like a moat, right there.
So it would be excellent for open space.
Yeah, no problems with open space.
And really wouldn't be used as industrial at that point.
No.
I mean, it's such
I
a-
wouldn't even mind calling it as a buffer zone.
Now, I noticed in the report you said that this was not developable as manufactured housing. The area that you want to say, you said that wasn't developable anyway in the letter that I got. Because of the, I guess because of the mix of forest and brush and open space bisected by the railroad. So really, you want it changed, but want to leave it the same as it is.
No. First of all, there's just water out there, and for individual septic systems, it'd be interesting. I don't know if I would waste my money on mobile home park. We bought industrial land, we have every intention to continue to use it as industrial, because if we can't get our uses, I don't wanna say it, but I have to look at where else am I gonna go? that parcel is the closest. I can tell you that we expanded 75,000 square feet on UMS just 2 years ago. That's this year's expansion to this. We're looking at expanding that, and hopefully that road will be pushed.
Are we talking about Whispering Pines? Oh,
We're, no.
Are those,
In my dream, I would like to, I've talked to, possibly 2 of these more white ones will be coming our way. I would like to see Whispering Pines go away if I can.
It's in the way.
That's in my pocketbook. I have a budget I've been allotted to pick up. I picked up 3 parcels last year, 8 acres.
are those stick-built homes or
No.
mobile homes?
The stick-built home was over here. That was probably about the nicest home. This one, was a stick-built home, but one was it wasn't a trailer, but it was, the rest of these right here remain, they're all trailers.
Okay.
Except for John Hink's house, right over here at the corner, adjacent to us. He's moved to, Florida. I've been talking to him. That is a stick-built house. He used to work at the air base.
Yeah, I mean, again, anybody that logically is an island in the middle of your sea, and that makes some sense.
well, one of my concerns would be, you know, where do these go? Where does manufactured housing go? There isn't any other place, in the town if you're taking out that. And this is what I saw when I'm looking at this map. I'm saying, you want Whispering Pines area too. And they're not gonna be expanding any of these. We don't have any land for those types
Well,
of
with the
buildings.
money Schluter pays them for their property, they might be able to go get a nice little stick-built bungalow somewhere.
Both of those 2 people relocated within days.
Yeah. That, wanting some property to use for, to count as green space and whatnot, because you're a little squeezed in here, I mean, personally, I have no problem with that at all. I just would have concerns that could go through some construction phase, and that would encroach on the trailer park.
I'm certainly in favor.
And you've got a home there too, isn't that a house on 43.2? A little square inside of there?
43.2.
That's the little parcel, it's like.
Or is that barren, or is there someone living?
I have no idea what it is. I haven't been down there.
135 by 135?
I think it's this one right here he's talking about.
Pretty small.
There's one right
Back in-
here.
Oh, okay, that one.
This is,
You know, someone mentioned, why wouldn't we buy the trailer park? Buy one of those things, it's gonna take you 9 months to a year to cancel everybody's leases and get them out. I wouldn't waste my time or my money with it, to be very candid.
I'm certainly in favor of seeing this move forward to the, you know, an opportunity for public comment and.
Oh, yeah, send it back to the planning board.
Moving on from there, I mean, I think we're kind of spinning our wheels here, with part of that conversation. Appreciate you bringing it forward. You know, what you folks are doing for the town is good in many respects, and we'll keep it moving. And see where it goes.
I think what you can do, it's very straightforward.
so what you're saying is, you're buying more land, chances are the company's gonna stay here, not gonna be moving.
I think last year I put over about $3 million into 2 new buildings, and I have a proposed budget, probably another $5 to $10 million worth of expansion. However, we got one facility, which is a brand-new aspect of our industry. We wanna locate it here. If we don't locate it here, it doesn't make sense for us to continue to grow.
This is the North American Distribution Center, isn't it?
Yes, it is, right now. And we plan on keeping it. I mean, we've gone through our grants and everything, we're paying taxes now. We're located in Montreal, and that's just our marketing, just to let you know. The only jobs that went there are marketing, which we only had 2. They have 10 times better marketing and printing and everything up in Montreal, not telling anything. But all of our manufacturing, all of our distribution is right here. We have a distribution center in Reno, which we opened up 2 years ago, and we'll probably look at one in the Midwest, so we go 1, 2, 3. Our goal is try to get our products within, to the customer within 3 days.
It's a real quality product, a high-end product, and you know what impressed me is during the worst of the economic recession, when things were moving, Schluter product was still selling.
Yep.
It didn't slow down, it grew actually.
We did well.
It's amazing.
And
So 18, the
18.
big section, the huge section there,
18 we own, however, you got, for me to open up a business soon, it'll probably take me a year to develop it. I got wetlands, I got streams, I got an access problem. I have to buy either Hank or use the road, or over here, I have to buy something else. When we bought it, we thought we could easily use it, and unfortunately, I know right now I can't easily use it.
just going back to your staying here, for a training facility, is that, you
Yes.
said that's proposed?
If you ever
So-
come by, we use training every other month.
Yeah,
We bring like 60 to 70 people in, we house them for 2 days up at the, what is it, at Frank Agee's place, Hampton,
Hats.
yeah, and we
You feed
take
them
them out
well
to
and take
dinner,
them
yeah,
home, right?
they go out,
so Tom, that's good.
yeah.
Oh, it's very
Lots of
good.
people.
We bring a lot of money
Yeah.
into the community that people don't even
Right,
recognize.
exactly,
yeah.
that's what I'm saying.
Can you access 18 off of Whispering Pines Road?
I probably can, but I don't know what the condition, there's no turnaround down there. I can probably get into it, but you're gonna have a lot of trucks going in. That's why I'm, be candid, I'm looking at
Yeah.
wiping that white out.
all right, so basically,
Oh, it's not a bad thing.
all of it's gonna be built between Pleasant Ridge Road and the railroad, in that sort of mound there, so to speak. 1.1,
That's
1.2,
that's our next area of expansion, it makes a lot of practical
But
expense.
you're also looking at future expansion beyond that,
Oh, yeah,
in terms of this other.
this would make a logical thing, but this is where everything drains, guys. So it's nice to see there, but every single thing I have drains there. That is my detention basins, and they're big. So to move those, that's a very, very costly thing. Really, we're hoping that if I pick this up in this area down here, the German company that that's associated with these guys would be on the other side of them,
Where is that drainage?
down here, right here,
I can't, I don't know,
Part 18.
18,
right here.
it drains in there?
No, nothing drains it, yeah. Everything that right here, all these improvements and everything
All this
drain
goes down
right here.
Oh, so that can't be used, I was gonna say, that looked like a pretty big area.
Yeah, I'd love to use it, but then I'd be creating a nightmare for myself.
Okay, does anyone have anything else for CJ and Jim? Either of you have any other comments you'd
Well,
like
as
to
long
make?
as they're gonna stay
Appreciate
around,
you.
yeah,
Appreciate you coming in to give us some insight.
Would you like us here on the 20th? Or that,
I don't know if everybody's, I assume everybody's looked at the resolution we have simply turns it over to the planning board. I can't imagine not doing that.
Right.
well, it's not up to us, planning board has to do it first, then we have to vote.
Correct.
Yeah, but we have
I
to
mean,
turn it over to them
I
first.
mean, I don't have any
You need to
objection turning it over to
report
them right away,
Yeah.
letting them look at
Gotta
it.
let them go.
okay.
Here's what you did, usually you refer to them, then if they need more time, they ask you, and they agree to extend if it's a problem. That's how we've done it in the past. I'm hoping I can address all their questions.
So you're talking
I'm
about,
not asking like the last guy to change the zoning requirements, I just wanna change the zoning district designation, use the same stuff as that we've used before. Will you
I
see
think
it?
they'll put you through enough hoops that
Yeah, yeah.
that will be
can we
interesting.
suggest that they put a restriction on that particular section?
I have no other problem with the corner saying that it has to be used for buffer. No building would be approved to come back, but I'm looking at it, as I told the planning people, is to making sure I get it for, I can use open space in my calculations. Because I do plan on doing a lot of building.
Well, isn't that where the water drains, isn't that a lot of open space?
Yeah, but it's all
No,
sand.
it's-
It's all sand.
As they continue to expand, though, that continues to be a growing issue. I mean, if that can be, some language can be written in there, that makes me real comfortable.
Yeah.
That's my only area of concern.
I have no problems with buffering the whole triangle until something happens with the road. And then we'll do whatever. I mean, and I'll wait it, because I'm not gonna be around. I'll commit that it'll be buffered, I'll be long gone.
How close, how close does this come to, you know, the people on Pleasant Ridge and the homes there? I mean, it's just across the road, right, or across the railroad tracks from there?
Yeah.
Is there gonna be some kind of a buffer along that, you know, trees or something like that around, along there?
Well, I own all this land all the way up to the railroad tracks on this side now. I've taken down the house. There's nothing in this,
Okay.
in this hump.
There's nothing in there?
Correct, that was vacant. There was a white house there. We've taken it down and we've removed it, asbestos and all,
Okay.
$91,000. So, but it's gone and we bought that other lot across the street. So
CJ,
really,
what would you think are the best days or the blacked out days to see if we can get everybody to go in and get a tour of the
just
facility?
tell me how, you guys tell me a
Okay.
date.
I'll coordinate a time with everyone then. and we'll-
Yeah, I haven't ever been in
Yeah.
there, see that.
We can get you a tour.
It'd be
I mean,
really
I
good
just
to
snuck
see
in the
that.
parking lot once just to look at the buildings.
A lot of walking and you'll see, you know, we can show you the manufacturing processes of both plants and our distribution system, our pick and packets and presses.
Of course, that was a
I
long time
can
ago when I was
just
riding
see
a
you zipping
motorcycle.
around that place on a Segway.
Yeah. Do either of you know the number of employees they're up to now?
Well, here, I'm not positive, but we're close, we're pushing towards 300. When I went there, maybe 6, 7 years ago, we had 78, 79. Total now, we're up to pushing 300.
Wow.
That does not include Montreal.
It was $1 million payroll a few years ago, so I'm sure it's way over that now.
When I
That's a lot of
run
money in the economy.
I'm gonna add, just this year, we just added 10 jobs, that'll be over $1 million.
When I run a group health insurance program for Ed, they had 12.
12 employees, wow,
Yeah.
wow. Come a long way.
My insurance company just called me up and told me I now have to take and, have to have agreements and policies in place because I got too many cars on the road. We have over 100, so now they're looking at us as fleet.
Bricks to
So,
grow.
which one do you bought?
I bought this, one, two, three. I'm talking to 2 of those people, I won't tell you which ones. 3 of them, I'm looking at 3 of those lots.
Thank you both.
Well, I don't own any
Appreciate
of
you.
them down there, so, you know.
Helps them, they give us something back to know. a little
I just
more.
have to, just make sure I know which one's houses to go to the campaign, I don't wanna go
Yeah,
there if
oh,
they're not
yeah.
gonna be there, so, you know.
Well, there's one guy there, probably be my last one on my list. Good night now,
Drive
thank you.
safe. Thank you. I'm gonna push agenda a little bit. Capital project, just a heads up again, continue to have conversations with Pat about that, continue to have some conversations with RJ. We've got some things going on as of today. We wanna bring some sort of recommendation to the board in a work session. We're gonna do that soon. As of now, I think we're best keeping water sewer separate. They're almost like a business within the business. Their funding is encapsulated by them. It's not commingling with general fund. Megs and Marty, you sat in some of those meetings with concerning USG and the water tanks and all that. We need it, but they've got some things going there unique. We're gonna pull together some bullets of the rest of the town. And I see now, we might be able to reduce the cost of doing this greatly and expedite the process. I want something in place before our budget season where we can truly identify the needs, 5 years, 10 years, the big capital items that we can begin to start a fund balance to be prepared for these. I often reflect on your model, Tom. I listened to you for 9 years and 4 months. Why don't we plan ahead and have the money to pay for those snowplows? And you're right, because the answer is a very simple answer. We haven't planned ahead well. Even with a plan, I'm not sure how we plug it in this environment. But you have to have
My
the
problem
plan.
is that we constantly study, and we constantly do all these things, and we don't do anything.
Well,
You
I-
fix one tank, and I thought this year we were gonna start doing these things.
I'd argue that with you, but I won't tonight. We need a good townwide capital plan. And I do think in that same vein, I think the water department's very close to coming to us with some sort of recommendation. The problem is the nut is so big, and about half of those tanks have some serious need in the short term. and how do you get them up to speed? And if we could get up there, a maintenance agreement seems to me to make a lot of sense. It's a constant number, put it in the budget, you never fall behind again. What they're looking at now is a bit of a phase-in to do the most immediate ones first. And I think you'll have that very soon with implementation beginning in 2016. It's a lot of moving parts, it's a lot of money. There's only so much money, you know, you can only raise so much money. It's not like, you know, we'll just go out and get a bond. And trying to make it work and still plug that into the town, because ultimately what's going on there with any levy impacts the entire budget. And in response to your concerns, Tom, you're going to have something very soon on that. We're getting there. So that's going forward, and we'll have to make some decisions probably in the very near future. But I expect a good draft of what we propose to do for you, maybe at the next work session. Communications, I gave you.
The next person?
Yeah.
27.
I gave you a copy of letters
That's going to be at the Wall Still.
to Jim. I'm told Deborah, I really want to keep a standing piece of my report that is communications. Sometimes I will scan them and send them to you. I might put them in your mailbox. We might pass them around before we come out here, but it's not memorializing the communications, and it's not always giving you a hard copy. By having it on my agenda, I think every 2 weeks we're going to say what communications came in that we need to have on there for you. And that was one, and you know, obviously a very nice note. I'm not going to take time to go through openly. But there's another communication. I don't have copies for you. It was a press release today that you might have otherwise missed. I got some information on this last week. It was embargoed until today, and I find it very exciting. And let me just read a piece of this. The report will read, it just went out, as I said today, maybe get some attention tomorrow. That we have been ranked number 2 in the micro-American city of the future. This is different than the micropolis that we really recently got as well. And we're specifically mentioned in here. North Country Chamber of Commerce and the Development Corporation of Clinton County are welcoming news that FDI magazine, Foreign Direct Investment, a publication of the Financial Times of London, has ranked Plattsburgh as the number 2 micro-American city of the future, advancing from its number 4 rank 2 years ago. City rankings are released every 2 years as part of the analysis of various size cities in the Americas, with micro-cities being those with less than 100,000 population. Now, this is the greater Plattsburgh area. Plattsburgh also scored very strongly in each of the components used as factors in the rankings. We were number 1 for human capital and lifestyle. That is huge. One of the things that's always been a little bit of a ball and chain for us is some of the demographics. I've talked with some companies, you know, well, we'd come, but I don't think we can get 200 skilled employees to work at our plant out of this community. Your unemployment's not that high, your population is not that high either. They ranked us as number 1, pretty interesting. Number 2 for economic potential. Number 3 for business friendliness. This is something we've really been attacking here. We also got a number 1 for foreign direct investment. The thing goes on. I can give you some copies of this. You should be getting them. I'll scan or forward and email the item to you. But this is unique from the other because they're looking at the data and saying, how do we look for the future? The other micropolitan, sort of looked at what we've done and where we are, and there's a unique difference. It's kind of nice to know how we rank today, but I kind of like to know what are people thinking about us for future investment. We've already got what we've got. I'm concerned about what's coming. And this really becomes a great tool for us to use. There are some comments made by, you know, the usuals in here, including yours truly, and my friend the mayor. But reflects somebody paying attention to stuff that we've put in place, even as simple as changes in our local codes and zoning, having a master plan, an airport that is expanding its resources, et cetera, et cetera. When you go out and you look for new water supplies, you're sending the message that you're concerned about, not only that we have plenty of water now, but that we're gonna have plenty of water in the future. We're gonna meet future needs. It's the issues of maintaining the infrastructure. Every community's fighting with that. We're doing something. We've been spinning our wheels, but while we're spinning our wheels, we've been lining some of these sewer lines, and we're drilling for a new well, we're putting the new meters in, we're talking to companies like tonight, how can we save a little money here and there and improve? This is really a big deal, and as I said, I'll forward this to you tomorrow. But it's a big deal, and I thought that was a pretty good communication. I don't know if anybody has any thoughts or comments before I push it. And is there anything, I know you got to.
Why is it always getting studied in London? There's no study people in here, okay, in the United States.
This is an international, looking at, various markets, looking at North America as a whole. And you might want that perspective coming from a foreign country, really. And it's, having RJ here representing Schluter. Think about it, just a few years ago, there were names like Fujitsu, Schluter, Neuros, help me out here, Nova, which isn't that strange, but there are a lot of foreign investments that have been made, and some they just aren't big enough to be in our face. I bet you could stop 10 people on the street, and 9.5 of them wouldn't know what Schluter is. It's not on the way to the mall.
That's a
And
hidden
it's
diamond.
huge.
That's a hidden diamond in the town.
Nobody knows where.
And they could have been anywhere.
Yeah,
Remember,
but they're worldwide.
absolutely.
It's phenomenal.
So, when you get the recognition at home is nice, like the other recognition, that's nice, it sort of looks at where you are. This looks at the worthiness of people thinking about coming here in the future. That's pretty sweet. That's pretty sweet. So anyway, that's my other communication. Meg, was there anything in there you have any concerns before you have to leave, anything in particular? And in fact, if you've got another minute, I'll jump ahead to the resolutions we want to pass tonight,
Okay,
so you can vote on those.
sure.
So everybody will entertain that and keep them hold. So if we jump ahead to 91,
Yeah, I wondered why we don't put half of 6:30 at South Plattsburgh Fire Station and 7:30.
well, let's read this in and get a motion, and we'll get on the table and we can discuss it. We've got 3 that we'd like to see passed. Rick, Resolution 91, 2015 Neighborhood Informational
There
Meetings.
has been the custom for time to hold public informational meetings for residents of each district in the town to provide a chance for the supervisor and members of the town board to meet with the community, provide a town-wide update, exchange ideas, listen to problems indigenous to specific areas, offer solutions and explanation of federal, state, and local rulings affecting the residents. Whereas a series of local town meetings are planned to provide an interactive method of communications on a topic of mutual interest and concern for the residents. Therefore, it be resolved that the dates and times and locations are as follows, as so noted. And it be resolved that a copy of this resolution be placed on the town clerk's bulletin board and also be on the town's website.
Can I get a motion?
So moved.
Mr. Cashwood, second.
Okay.
Meg, Ms. LaFave. Now, discussion. Go ahead, Tom.
I just feel like we've always met at the rec center over in Cliff Haven, and I don't know why we would want to move them to the South Plattsburgh Fire Station, since that's where we usually get a number of people. So to me, meeting at the South Plattsburgh Fire Station is great, but we should move over to Cliff Haven. I mean, I know you wanted to have fire stations, we do, this time we've got all the fire stations except for the town hall. But this one, we could make exception, we're still going to South Plattsburgh Fire Station, but we'll be moving over to Cliff Haven after.
One they don't want, so.
I think there's one of them, I think there's a conflict with the second fire station with an activity that's going on.
Right.
I'm not completely opposed to doing,
Yep.
the Cadyville, the Cliff Haven Rec Park there. You know, I think, you know, as someone that advocated for us to adopt this initiative, I think it's built in some good audience, some relationship building. What I was going to add as a side note, I just don't wanna forget, is as we send a letter out to these folks as a reminder, I would like to recommend, that we ask if they wouldn't mind putting it on their digital signs, because I think that's one of the huge attractions of being able to work with the fire departments, to say, we're gonna have one of the town regional meetings here on such and such a date. Cumberland Fire Department's been really good about doing that in the past, and again, I think it just drives home the message that the town board is going out into these regions. Unfortunately, there isn't a sign at the park, but we could certainly build it into the schedule.
When I approached the fire chief in South Plattsburgh and Cliff Haven, it's the same chief. He indicated that they could do the session at 6:30. They could not do a second session. They had a conflict with another activity that they had already put in place. Okay, did not see utilizing the Cliff Haven station because they did not actually have a meeting room in the Cliff Haven station that he felt was large enough, and consequently, that was why he didn't make that recommendation. It's his assumption and my assumption that we'll be communicating, and I don't know how this is going to be done, Bernie, so I'll ask how we're going to do this. But it's my understanding that we will be communicating that these sessions are open to people in the areas service, so that, for example, people in Cliff Haven will be notified that they are invited to the South Plattsburgh Fire Station at the 6:30 meeting.
Yeah, we would post it, of course, but on the website. We've also put it in the newspaper in the of interest to make sure everybody knows they're welcome.
Okay, but just, not just this schedule of meetings. We need to get, that people know that from their various areas. So for example, Hammond Lane, okay, that Hammond Lane Fire District, that serves an awful large area.
Well, anybody can go if they are in that area, or if they're from Katyville, they can go to the Hammond Lane meeting. They're all open.
Right.
Okay.
I think the other thing that we did last year was, we made probably 30, 50 of these notices, I know, went around and, asked to put them up in Stewart's, and I'm happy to do that again. I think it's a nice regional reminder that if you see it, and again, our numbers have not been overwhelming, but again, every attempt that we make to get out in front of people is something that is a
I
positive.
mean, unfortunately, Cliff Haven was very well attended by their community organization and so on. I think last year, wasn't that the one we had one or two people show, they kind of forgot, and so.
They've been well attended for a number of years.
No,
But
we just offer it. And
I don't know if it's possible to add it
I think
next
we,
to the, or even, take out that 7:30, because that would be confusing.
yeah, we can go to Cliff Haven at 7:30, that's not a
Well,
problem.
you said that, they said we could have it at 6:30, but they had a conflict at 7:30, so we need to take it out, don't we?
Yeah,
Yeah, so why not just go over to Cliff Haven for the,
Tom, Tom, is that a recommendation? Everybody in favor, we'll just 7:30 go to Cliff Haven?
they're not going to the Cliff Haven Fire Station.
No, Cliff Haven
Cliff
Park.
Haven Rec Park.
Rec Park. Cliff Haven Rec Park.
Okay.
We own that, we can go there.
is that okay with you
Okay.
for changing the
We
resolution?
can do that.
Yeah, can you vote real quick so I can?
All in favor indicate so by saying aye as amended.
Aye.
Mr. Cashman?
Yes.
I say aye as well. Mr. Mannix?
Yeah,
It's unanimous. Now, the next one is, we have two resolutions on position changes. Thank you, Meg.
Yep, thanks, guys.
Resolution 92, the transfer of Tyson Drown to the Water Wastewater Department to fill the position of Water Wastewater Maintenance Worker 1.
Whereas indicated in the attached letter by the Water Wastewater Director Scott Stoddard, the Water Wastewater Department has a vacancy for the position of Water Wastewater Maintenance Worker 1 that needs to be filled in that department. Whereas Mr. Tyson Brown is requested to be transferred from Building and Grounds to the Water Wastewater Maintenance Worker 1. And Mr. Bro, Building and Grounds Superintendent, and Scott Stoddard, Wastewater Director, support Mr. Brown's request. Whereas due to the nature of the request and the impacts on the current negotiated contract with the Teamsters Local 687, an agreement identifying the salary for this transfer has been signed by Mr. Brown and a representative of the union. Whereas Mr. Stoddard recognized the benefits this transfer brings to his department as indicated by the skills and prior experience Mr. Brown has demonstrated in his prior position. Now therefore be resolved that Mr. Brown be transferred to the Water Wastewater Department to fill the position of Maintenance Worker 1 effective with the first full pay period immediately following civil service final approval and certification of this resolution. And a certified copy of this resolution be given to the Finance Manager, Building and Grounds Superintendent, Water and Wastewater Director, and one placed in Mr. Brown's personnel
A
file.
motion.
So moved.
Mr. Woods, second.
Second.
Mr. Mannix, any discussion?
I had a discussion with Mr. Stoddard in which I very specifically advised him to be very careful with this transfer, and in particular, I'm happy to see that they have an agreement in place and it's been signed by parties, so that hopefully, and I'll say that, hopefully, his department and others will not get bit by this maneuver.
Any other discussion? Roll call.
Thomas Wood,
Yes.
Martin Manning,
Yes.
Michael Cassidy,
Yes.
Bernie Bassett.
Yes, resolution carries. Resolution number 93, transfer of Carrie Healy to the Building and Grounds Department to fill the position of laborer.
Whereas is indicated in the letter by Superintendent of Building and Grounds Arthur Bro, the Building and Grounds Department has a vacancy for the position of laborer in that department. Whereas Mr. Kerry Healy has requested a transfer from the Water Wastewater Department as laborer to the Building and Grounds Department, and Scott Stoddard, Water and Wastewater Director, and Mr. Bro, Building and Grounds Superintendent, support Mr. Healy's request. Whereas Mr. Bro acknowledges the benefit that this transfer brings to the department as indicated skills and prior experience that Mr. Healy has. Therefore be resolved that Mr. Healy be transferred to the Building and Grounds Department to fill the position of laborer effective full pay period immediately following civil service approval and upon adoption of the certified copy of this resolution. And the certified copy be given to the Finance Manager, Water and Wastewater Director, Building and Ground Superintendent, and one place in Mr. Healy's file.
A motion.
So moved.
Mr. Woods, second. Mr. Cashman, any discussion? Roll call.
Thomas Wood,
Yes.
Martin Mannix,
Yes.
Michael Cassidy,
Yes.
Bernie Bassett.
Yes, that resolution carries. As long as we're in this part of our pack, why don't we just plow through and we'll go back and catch junkyard permits and summer shift letter. Oh yeah, we have the minutes, of course. And some reports. The annual examination of town records is quite a healthy report that's been compiled for you to review. To the best of my knowledge, everything should be fine. The next draft is the temporary seasonal hire. Brian Douglas, this is a recommendation of the Superintendent of Building and Grounds. This would be a new hire for us, an individual that he would like to bring into that part-time seasonal. No benefits, etc. Then you have one to attend a New York Rural Water Association conference. And the second one for that the zoning map petition that we'll have, we have just discussed with CJ and Jim Abdullah, and then which should be final budget amendments to the 2014 budget. Are there any concerns with those at this point? They would go forward. If we go back, Rick, you've got your letters out in the junkyards. Any concerns, comments, thoughts with that?
No, no,
You seem to have been doing better with those the last couple of years, so kudos for that. After that, you have Mr. Bro's letter that he wants to begin his summer schedule. Haven't heard from anyone on that, so I assume you're comfortable there as well. In that case, that is the end of the agenda. No one has any other business. I would call us adjourned at 8:35.
Bernie, you said that on the next, I think you said the next work session, you're gonna be discussing capital projects.
I'm hoping to have a draft of that to give everyone.
Is that gonna be on the 27th, or is that not the next?
Wherever we are is the next work session.
Okay, I thought so, but I wasn't sure, because
We-
they did call it an informational meeting and talk to the, yada, 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 blah, blah,
But we
blah.
still have to do our business.
That's what I
We're
thought.
gonna have the same kind of agenda with draft resolutions.
Yeah, okay, I just wanted to make sure.
Yeah, yeah. That's the plan. It's always good to
Well,
have.
yeah, we'll be.
Plans.
So it'll be a split thing, you'll do part of it at the first and part of it at the second?
Well, the agenda,
Well, depends how much we get done, if there's anybody
Correct.
there, not.
yeah, if we can plow through